What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another highly combustible reaction. We're jumping into something. The next one on our geography now, journey South Africa is where we are headed. Shout out to Mikkel for the request. We're going to take it right up to the end of the population segment today, and then we will finish it off tomorrow just for time's sake because we're running a little bit behind. Let's jump into it. Let's check it out together. If you enjoy it, make sure you get over Show Geography Now. All the love in the world. Definitely one of the most informative channels out there. They do their research. They go back. They fix things on the fan flag. Fun Friday. Definitely get over there. Show them the love so that they can continue doing what we love them to do. See if their community is right for you. Check out their Patreon, etc. Let's go.
Let's see if I got this.
Bro, you already got the click thing down better than I could ever imagine. I could do it. That was damn impressive. Even if he got it a little bit wrong, that was impressive.
Geography.
I don't know if he got it
Everybody,
wrong
I'm
or
your host,
right.
Barbs. Once again, this shirt was made by Geography Ruba from UnityShirtsShop.com. She makes these cool handmade African flag logo shirts. Oh, and she specifically made this one with the Geography Now logo in the back for me. Oh, thank you, Ruba. Oh, and don't forget, you can also get Geography Now merchandise at GeographyNow.com. Just a heads up. Anyway, South Africa. This is a big one. South Africa is kind of a big deal in Africa in general. And you know what else is a big deal? Having an actual South African in the episode. Say hi to Catherine from South Africa. Come on in.
My people there are just the best people in the world, and it will always be home, no matter where I live.
All right, well, you ready to get into this episode, Catherine?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
So South Africa has always played a historically imperative role when it came to expeditions from early traders, and you can probably guess why.
For one, the country lies at the bottom of the continent of Africa, bi-coastal between the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. In fact, the southernmost point of the African continental mainland, Cape Agulhas, has a cool spot you can check out with a plaque and a giant Africa map monument. From there, they are bordered by 6 other countries. Don't forget little Eswatini and the entirely enclaved country of Lesotho. From there, the country is divided into 9 provinces. The country doesn't have one official capital, but rather 3. Pretoria, which holds the executive branch, including the home of the president, as well as most of the embassies for international diplomats. The legislative branch is held in Cape Town, where you can find the national parliament, and second largest city in the country.
And lots of gray whites anywhere further south than that.
And Bloemfontein, near the center of the country, hosts the judicial branch and the Supreme Court of Appeal. Some say technically Johannesburg could also be considered maybe a 4th capital because it has the Constitutional Court, and the city has a huge level of significance as the largest and busiest city of the country, but you decide. Johannesburg also hosts the biggest and busiest airport in South Africa, OR Tambo International, whereas the 2nd and 3rd largest airports lie respectively in the 2nd and 3rd largest cities, Cape Town and Durban's King Shaka International. The country has a wide network of roadways and the most well-developed rail system in all of Africa, Johannesburg being the main central hub that spiderwebs all the other main lines that stretch into every other province and abroad into neighboring countries. South Africa also boasts incredible seafaring infrastructure, with the 2nd busiest container port in all of Africa, after Port Said in Egypt, the port of Durban, which provides 60% of all South Africa's shipping revenue. Finally, South Africa's island or insular region are mostly confined to small patches along the coasts, like the Port Elizabeth Bay or Robben Island just north of Cape Town, famous for being the spot where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned. However, if we include the entire domain belonging to South Africa, then Prince Edward and Marion Island, which belong to the Western Cape Province, are the actual southernmost points of the African continent. These islands are mostly uninhabited, with the exception of a meteorological station and bunkers for scientists. Yeah, and the southernmost point on Marion
Island. I think I want to be a bunker scientist on an island where way that far away from anything else.
Cape Hooker, literally, it is.
Cape Hooker.
So, okay,
but you won't find any there.
Why isn't Lesotho part of South Africa?
Yeah, why?
Well, long story short, it was kind of like...
UK! Okay, if you help me kick his ass, I'll be one of your protectorates. You got a deal. I got him. Woo!
Hey, your king died, and we want to make you a part of the Cape Colony.
Oh, no, I'll just stick with protectorate.
Well, we don't like that.
Okay, well, I guess that means we'll spend the next 14 years resisting and giving you a headache.
Deal. We give up. We'll give you guys self-rule as a separate crown colony.
You guys suck, but whatever. It's better than being part of the Cape Colony.
South Africa is now going to become its own country, and we want you to be in it.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, come on. We're going to have very tense, racially divisive apartheid policies that will disenfranchise your people.
Okay, how do you see that as conducive to the benefit of my people?
Oh, yeah. I don't. All right, well, enjoy your self-rule.
And from there, it pretty much sealed the deal that Lesotho would never join South Africa. Anyway!
Now here's the interesting thing. Even though South Africa is a republic, the constitution includes the traditional leadership clause, which recognizes the with certain indigenous monarchs.
Yeah, today there are about 13 monarchs from 9 different ethno-linguistic groups and tons of other smaller paramounts and high chiefs in South Africa.
Although they do not have direct legislative power to the republic, they have a high degree of regional influence and involvement in communal affairs.
Sadly, shortly before filming this episode, Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini passed away. He ruled for 5 decades and had a huge role of significance in the Zulu community.
Wow, he was a king.
King. Well, in any case, let's talk about some of the top notable spots, and let's have South African influencer and travel writer Gofari do it for us. Gofari, take it away.
Very
Hey everyone,
cool.
I'm Gofari, a South African travel blogger, and I'm going to talk you through the notable sites to visit in South Africa.
Listen, one of the things I'll say is I met people that have been to a great many places. And not one has ever come back from South Africa and been like, oh, I didn't like it, or I wouldn't go there again. Every single one of them talks about how awesome it is, how much culture there is, how much, I don't know, just things to see, from the busy cities to out in the more wilderness areas that I probably wouldn't want to walk around in. But absolutely never heard a bad word said about South Africa from anybody that's visited there.
I'm going to talk through the cultural and the man-made sites. We have Blokrantz Bridge, which is the highest bridge bungee in the world. We also have many theme parks like Gold Reef City, the Palace of the Lost City, and Ushaka Marine World. Ponte Tower, District 6 Museum, the world's largest pineapple, the Big Hole, Orlando Towers, Baobab Tree Bar. We have 10 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, such as Mount Ngubwe and also Robben Island, which is where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned. Thank you.
Thanks, Gofari. You are awesome. Check out her Instagram and pages in the links in the description below.
But yeah, South Africa's natural wonders, you won't even know where to begin with. Like, they have the largest cave system in Africa, the Congo Caves, Borgslags potholes, the tallest waterfall in Africa, and it just goes on and on.
Whoa, whoa. Hold your horses, Catherine. That's the nature stuff. You're going to... We're going to talk about that in the next segment. The next segment, which is...
Physical
So,
geography.
South
Let's go.
Africa. One word, blessed.
For one, the country is a low-risk malaria nation, and most areas in the wilderness don't even require medication. They even have their own unique biome called Fynbos, the smallest and the richest of the 6 floral kingdom in the world, only found in southern Africa with over 6,000 endemic plant species, including the national flower, which is the king protea. When I think of South Africa, that's what I see in my mind, always.
Specifically, Fynbos.
Specifically Fynbos, yes. It's also home to the rooibos plant, where rooibos tea comes from, and that's my favorite tea.
Rooibos.
Yes, it's amazing.
red.
Overall, you literally can't find anywhere that looks like South Africa.
For one, the country is unlike any other nation in that it's not only the southernmost portion of the East African Rift, but the entire country is kind of split between a semicircle mountain range known as the Great Escarpment. It feeds into the tallest range, the Drakensberg Mountains, in the east, where you can find the tallest peak, Mafadi, shared with Lesotho. These mountains are also the source of the longest river in the country, the Orange River, which ends in the Atlantic Ocean. South Africa doesn't have many large natural lakes, and the majority of inland bodies of water are man-made reservoirs, the largest one being the Harip Dam, located in the center of the country. The largest natural freshwater lake, though, is speculated to be Sibai, part of KwaZulu-Natal's Greater St. Lucia Wetland Park on the east coast, a UNESCO heritage site. If you zoom out a little bit, you'll notice the Great Escarpment has these sharp, narrow, parallel wrinkles at the bottom. These are called the Cape Mountains, which are essentially leftover sediments smashed by contrasting tectonic activity long ago, when South Africa was connected to Argentina and Antarctica in the Gondwana supercontinent. Above these wrinkles, you have the Great Karoo, Namakaland, Bushmanland, and Calamari, which are dry, arid, rocky areas, sparsely populated and loaded with rich flora of succulent plants and minerals. If you move more east and north of the escarpment, you have the Eastern Midlands, KwaZulu-Natal coast, sweeping up to the Lowveld and the Limpopo Lowveld in the north. These are the most lush and green areas of South Africa and hold much of the arable land as well as nature and forest preserves. When you move inland,
I'm curious to know if South Africa ever gets any kind of cold, because it really seems like they've got almost every type of nature that you could want to see. Big mountains, low valleys, green, brown. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like you could spend a year traveling around, if not more, in this one little country down here at the bottom, and it would just be like huge. You could be there forever. I don't think I would ever want to leave. There's too many fairy tale-esque things to see.
though, you get the Highvelds, the Bushveld, and Griqualand West, which are the arid savannas of South Africa. This is probably one of the most unique areas of South Africa because it is the site where two things happened. One, an enormous meteor hit this spot, creating the largest verified impact crater on Earth, known as the Fredfort Crater, extending over 300 kilometers wide. You can even see the dome from space at the town of Fredfort. And two, said meteor was supposedly the source of many minerals like gold and platinum that fed the land, which later the inhabitants would subsequently discover and go crazy after in a mad gold rush and mining rush.
Now, although South Africa is the second largest economy in Africa after Nigeria, it is ranked the most industrialized, technologically advanced, and economically diversified.
And although the country does have a wide income gap between the wealthy and poor, the middle class has been growing every year since the 90s.
Today, South Africa is one of the world's top platinum and chromium producer. They consistently rank in the top 10 producers of gold and diamonds as well.
And finally, the gold rush in
Witwatersrand
in 1886 pretty much established the country as a mineral powerhouse.
Otherwise, only about 5% of the population is formally employed in farming.
This means they've shifted much of their economic activity towards other sectors like manufacturing, business, and finance.
Today, JSE Limited is the largest stock exchange in Africa, ranking 17th in the world with over trillions of dollars of investment revenue.
South Africa also boasts some of the best medical facilities in Africa and has the third largest hospital in the world.
Sadly though, South Africa does have the highest population of people infected with HIV at over 7.5 million and fourth in the world per population ratio.
There's even a character on their version of Sesame Street who has HIV to help kids born with AIDS to cope. And finally, the country has a huge tourism industry, mostly in the nature areas. Speaking of nature, it's time for Gary Harlow to explain.
Gary Harlow's Animal Adventure. That's the best I got. South Africa is home to over 20 national parks and dozens of nature reserves.
Yeah, that's where I would spend a lot of my time. I love doing little safari type things. Like we would be in some national parks.
South Africa is home to over 20 national parks and dozens of nature reserves. The most famous and visited ones being the Table Mountain National Park and the largest one, Kruger National Park in the northeast. South Africa is
definitely heard of that place.
Out of the 17 classified mega-diverse countries in the world. 10th for plant species and 3rd for marine endemism. In fact, between May to July, the sardine run happens in which billions of sardines spawn in the cool waters of the Agulhas Bank, creating a feeding frenzy for all the ocean predators. Look at them go, chomping. Jaws. And there's over 850 bird species, including the national bird, the blue crane. But more interesting, South Africa and Namibia are the only two countries in Africa that host penguins. The endangered African or Cape penguin is unique in that it has pink glands above its eyes to help regulate body temperature, since South Africa is generally much warmer than the typical habitat for penguins like, Antarctica. There's nearly 300 mammal species inhabiting the wilderness, including the national animal, the springbok. There's even an entire national park dedicated to elephants in the south. And finally, South Africa is not only home to many animals, but also extinct animal fossils. The Karoo region has more dinosaur fossil sites than any other place in the country, and numerous dinos have been excavated. And speaking of dinos, I got a velociraptor. Wrap this up.
Thank you, Gary.
That's corny but
It's time to
effective.
end of the segment, as we always do.
Whoa, what's going on? Oh.
Food! All right, let's roll. South Africa
Let's roll
has
through
so
food.
many unique dishes.
I think animals would be top of my priority list. I love to see animals in the wilderness. And then it would probably be historical sites. And maybe food. But I don't need a lot of vegetables. So it have to be something that we hunted.
But one thing is guaranteed: you will see meat on almost every menu.
There
no
you
shocker,
go.
They
That's
are the
what I'm
largest meat
talking
producer
about.
in Africa. In any
Listen,
case,
I
here are
won't
some
even
of
have
the
a
top
problem.
dishes you guys suggested: Poppenvorst, milk tart, frikadelle, bunny chow, cooked sisters, malva pudding, hoiki kos, fat cakes, mopani worms, savory pies, Cape Malay curry, babua tea, biltong. The Western Cape province
Hey,
has some of the
biltong
most
is good,
refined
though. That's
wineries
delicious.
in the world, starting all the way back to 1659. And supposedly, Route 62 is the longest wine route in the world, going over 850 kilometers long. And of course, many might argue the national dish would be braai, or South African-style barbecue, cooked over wood flames.
Whoa, Noah, you're back. Okay, cool. Thanks, Noah.
Oh, and don't forget to get some burgers from Wimpy's and a rib meal from Steers on Wacky Wednesday. And make sure that you go to Spur. Spur has the 2-for-1 special on Mondays.
And speaking of the people of
Hey,
South
good
Africa, I think
shout-outs.
that means we should probably move on to the next segment. The Now, I asked you guys, the South African geography peeps, what it means to be South African, and here are some things you guys said.
Being South African is very nice because we have so many different types of traditional groups where everyone is celebrating.
We come from a beautiful country, we're full of cultural diversity, and of course, we truly epitomize the Rainbow Nation.
To be South African means to live in the most beautiful country in the world and to be part of the most vibrant and energetic group of people.
We're quite resilient when it comes to the challenges we face. As well, they have got a strong sense of pride.
I love it when people have sense of place, when they got pride and where they come from. When they got pride and they're happy to be in the country that they're in. They're not looking for ways out.
The challenges we face. As well, they have got a strong sense of pride.
Living in a post-apartheid era, I feel that we have a lot of unity, we have a lot of strength, and we are really heroes for the challenges that we face every week and that we overcome. And we always find a way to remain in the game and strong.
It's an absolute miracle. If you got to see the 2019 Rugby World Cup in Japan and seeing how diverse and incredible South African athletes were, it's ever changing, it's always evolving, so many different art movements and interesting things going on. It's an incredible thing.
I am especially appreciative of the fact that I don't have to travel far to experience something different. Each of its 9 provinces are so unique in their landscapes and their cultures.
Yeah, we'll be wandering around forever.
So it's that's what makes it such a fun and exciting place to be.
Thank you guys. What about you, Catherine?
Well, I would say that every weekend is a jol.
Joel? What was that?
Jol.
What is that?
So if you're going to go for a jol, you're going to go for a party, and it's going to be like a really insane night. Like if you're going to go jol, you're going to go like really hard that night.
Okay. Now, as you will find out, South Africa is very diverse in terms of ethno-linguistic people groups.
Let's start with a pie chart, shall we?
The country has about 60 million people and has the largest white and Asian populations and percentages per population in all of Africa. The country is made up predominantly of black Africans at about 80%. However, keep in mind, of this 80%, there are many groups. Zulus and Xhosa are the largest ones at about 23% and 16%, followed by the Northern Sotho and Tswana at about 9% and 8%. And from there, there's a bunch of other groups, but we'll talk about them later in this episode. For the remaining 20% of the population, the white South Africans and coloreds have almost identical populations at somewhere around 9% each. Keep in mind though, amongst the white population, about 60% of them are Afrikaners and 35% are English, the remaining 5 or so percent being other Europeans. The rest of the population is mostly made up of Asians like Indians, Malays, Chinese, and so on.
So they use this.
It's already definitely a diverse population breakdown. The fact that there are several different areas where there's a chief or a king or some sort of tribal leader, or that's like could wonder literally just through culture, through history, through culture, and you would never see the same thing until you came back around. It's very, very interesting to me how diverse it is. I never really thought about South Africa being such a wide-ranging location. Like, it might be a place to take a trip, especially if you're into culture and just people and food, and the amount of different types of food there has got to be outstanding. Smash the like button if you liked it, the dislike button, but I won't believe you. I will see you tomorrow for part 2. Until the next one, I'm the Combustible. You guys be happy, healthy, safe. Get over show geography now. All the love in the world. I love you. To the moon and back. Peace.